Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You guys can relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It started with a vision of a sage who hailed all the way from India through Java, carrying Hinduism all the way into Bali, following a light that got translated later into a light that a man in a village called Taro saw that it's decreasing around where his house was and where he lived and where he grew as a child, and turned into our Bring Back the Light project. The concept is that we envision a world where each one of us live our life seeking the light within us, that pure light that we seek every single day. But not only that, but we can be able to be of service and beam this light out into the world around us so that we inspire others to follow their light as well. And that's the idea of the vision of Bring Back the Light. But before we get to the project and what we are doing today, we want to talk a little bit about the light. So you say bring back the light, but the first question is, where did the light go to start with? Or where is the light that you want to bring back? Like, there is light somewhere. So why do you want, did it disappear? Did it go away? So I said, maybe I don't know the answer. Let me ask who, whenever someone needs an answer, would go to. The wisest man in the world. Google. So I went and asked Google. I told Google, if we will, today, if I ask you what Bali is, what answer will you have for me? And I'm super happy that the answer came as 50% of Bali is beach clubs in Canggu and Seminyak and bars and hotels around Ubud. And 50% is still rice fields and puras and temples and priests and ceremonies. So I was super happy that it's still 50% there. So the light is still there. Still people see Bali as the place that they would go to for meditation, they would go to for ceremonies, they would go to for a culture. And only 50% of the people go to Bali for the beach clubs and for the hotels and for the luxurious life. But why does this matter in general? Because, if we continue going in one direction and the other, we will lose balance. And I don't know if you know anything about the Balinese, but the Balinese, their entire life is that the human is always in between the upper world and the underworld. Everything here is in three because there is always a balance in the middle. The human is always the one that is holding the balance in between the right side and the left side. And if you tip one side so much to the modernization and development, something may happen. And if you tip so much to rigidity and hardness and continuing traditional, maybe you're missing out on progress. So we agree that progress is going to happen, but maybe we need some balance to slow it down a little bit. Maybe we need to consider some other things. Why? Because there's something that is happening, and I've seen this. I come from Egypt. My name is Henzo, as Anouk has presented me, and I come from Egypt. And I've had an issue when I was a small child that we would go into the temple and we don't understand what is written on the temples. Our tour guides would tell us historical information, but we wouldn't know what is going on with our temples or what did these people represent. And when I came here to Bali, I realized that what I used to see in our temples in Egypt is actually happening every day here. But I also found something else when I started traveling. I found out that our villages are getting empty. And that's not only around Bali or around Indonesia. Our villages are getting empty everywhere in the world. I've traveled to almost 51 countries. And that's a really big issue in the world. And why is it a big issue? Because our village is where our local people are living. And today, in our villages, most of the people that are still living are old people. They're old generations who their children have left them and they have gone to modernization in the city, to work in cities, in restaurants, or to work on hotels, or to work as taxi drivers, because the opportunities and the modernization and the technology has moved to the cities. But what that has resulted, and I've seen it in almost 14 to 15 different communities that I work with globally, is that it has resulted that when we leave our villages and our villages are getting empty, means that our food is dying out also, because next to our next to our local communities in the villages are our food. This is our agricultural land and our lands that where we do the farming and where we do agroforestry. And if we leave that and abandon it and the youngsters will go to the city, the old man cannot take care of the food anymore. But not only that, we keep on talking in the world and we hold conferences about sustainability, but actually most of our forests and most of our natures are next to our local communities and next to our villages and not next to our cities. So by us actually modernizing everything and destructing our villages and destroying our land, we're actually also destroying our nature next to us. We are consuming and exploiting our nature, so on and so forth. So that's why the balance is super important. It's nice to say it in a poetic way, that it's super beautiful to maintain a culture that is getting maintained, or to keep the light going, like we are saying, or bring back the light, as we call our project, in a poetic, nice way. But actually, there is an impact if we don't do that, and if we don't act upon it. There is an impact in our food, because I don't know if you know, but 70% of our food worldwide is getting controlled by business people. And that's a concerning thing, because definitely they will have other interests at play. It's not the same interest that the farmer has. But second, also sustainability. And sustainability means oxygen for us and means nature. Sometimes we forget that we are nature. We ourselves are the ones that, so if we sever our connection to nature, and if we exploit and destroy the nature around us, we ourselves are dying as well. So today we are just presenting to you an example of one of the projects that we are working on, that we are trying through which to bring back the light. So bring back the light, we're trying to have many ideas through bring back the light, with the same idea of returning back to the light within us and beaming it out to others to get inspired. And one of our main projects is the Fireflies life that Anouk just presented. And I cannot present it on my own because I need the gentleman who came up with this vision, and that's Wayan. Please, all to you.
Thank you. Bigger round of applause for my brother. Ibu Anouk, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Selamat malam, Om Swastiastu. I'm very lucky to meet Henso a couple of years back. Now, he used to be my friend. Now he's my brother. Because my mother don't mind to have him as a brother. So Henso and Hemi and lots of people has been supporting me where we are, where I am at the moment. Yeah, but unfortunately I'm not as tall as Henso, so I may raise myself a little bit so everybody can see me. Yes, my name is Wayan Wardika. You can call me Wayan, like every firstborn child in Bali. Yeah, very confusing, I know. I born in Taro Village. It's just 15-20 minutes by motorbike. Unless when there is a road reparation, it may come 20, 30, and 40. We never know. But we just like 20 minutes away from here. The village of Taro is actually strongly related to the arrival of a holy priest by the name of Maharshi Markandeya. So it is one connection with Ubud, where the Maharshi also where Ubud is popular as part of the center of the medicine. So Taro Village is actually, thank you. Yeah, Taro Village is believed is the village that the Maharshi choose to share his vision. A little bit back to the history, I heard this story many times from our elderly, where this holy priest, all the way from India, live in Java, and then eventually in East Java, and show a vision of light. He saw a bright, shining light in his meditation, and he received a vision to look for that light. So the keyword is the light. And then, by the way, it is stated in the Purana. That is how we learn. Yeah. So when all the history, the legend is compiled by an expert, by a historian, in a book, and that is what we learn, we base. So basically, the Maharshi arrived with 400 followers, and then most of the followers died because Bali was a deep jungle at the time called Bali Dwipa, and wild animal. Can you imagine wild animal? Well, not necessarily elephants, yeah, but wild animals. So lots of his followers died, attacked by the wild animals. So then the Maharshi came back to East Java, Gunung Raung, and meditate and looks for the solution. Then the Maharshi received the answer that first he must ask permission. he buried the 5 elements called Panchadhatu in the Basukian temple in the slope of Gunung Agung, where Besakih now. So that is the beginning of this big vision of the Maharishi, and then he arrived in Taro. So in Taro there is a temple called Pura Gunung Raung. It is the temple is named after the mountain in East Java where his original learning center, and then it is later believed that he is actually stay in Taro and then share his vision. There are 3 that I see is about spirituality, about teaching Hinduism, and then secondly, how we as a community live in one communal area called Desa Adat, and then lastly, teach the community how to stay together and learn how to grow food, which is known as subak. And then later, this is transformed to become harmony with God, harmony with nature, and harmony with people. And you've probably heard the words of Trihita Karana. So this is, I think, the foundations that I see that the Maharishi are bringing to Bali, specifically in my Taro, in my village Taro. And there is one sacred animal that we protect as a heritage called Holy White Cow or Lembu Putih as the ride of Shiva. So this is where it's all evolved, where Shiva is believed to be guarding the center of the universe, so that to keep the balance, like Henso mentions, well, all the 9 directions is guided by the god. So this legendary power of Shiva riding the Nandini has a strong correlation. And that explains why Maharishi choose Taro Village become his learning center and spread his wisdom throughout Bali. And that is way before the ages. As a local Tarovian, as a local village of Taro, so this story I've been heard of it from a long time ago. But what I didn't remember is that this story is making sense now, 40 years later, where we don't see as much as fireflies as I grew up as a child. So I think the story started when I was maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, where I work in a field. I follow my parents in a farm. We have just like thousands and thousands of fireflies. But unfortunately, or fortunately at that time, we don't have artificial light at night because electricity came when I was only 12. So it explains why we have that fireflies. So through this bring back the lights, we try to save the fireflies, okay? Not just as an insect, but it's all the wisdom that lies underneath. Because fireflies in the Balinese philosophy has a strong correlations in our Balinese culture. One is considered to be a nail of a dead person. I know it sounds scary, but it is actually talk about karma. So it is a recommendation, it's a vision about how we be kind one to another as a human being. Secondly, the kunang-kunang or the fireflies is a symbol of the presence of our ancestors. So it's very much talk about energy, talks about vibration and so on and so on. It's a pure energy. So it's connected with the higher spirit. Yeah. But this very much, that's why then I have Nofi from the biology team explain that fireflies is actually one of a bioindicator of a clean air, non-contaminated water, and healthy soil. So putting them all together, fireflies is a very an animal that is very, very fragile to the climate change, global warming, or the quality of the environment. So it explains that fireflies is a true indicator that if we have a fireflies around us, it's a good quality of the environment, so that we can feel the presence of our ancestors. And lastly, the one that I'm very passionate about in the Balinese culture is ngaben, the the cremation ceremony. So this is the uplifting part, or where the level is where we all return to its source, all the 5 elements back to earth, to water, to fire, to air, to the sky, and then left the soul, and the soul needs also get back. The soul is represented as light. So this spark of light must be reunited with its source, with the highest energy. But because the soul stayed for quite some time on earth, so we create this attachment, we got lost. And some part of the cremation, we create this little lantern called Damar Kurung. It is actually a symbol of a firefly, because this one is our guide to the soul. This is the guide of our lost soul back to the source. So yes, bring back the fireflies is not only saving the insect. It's not about saving the animal, but it is also the requirement how this animal can live. It requires a nice clean air, it needs fresh, non-contaminated water, and it needs healthy soil. And how we do that? Unfortunately, we cannot do it alone. So that's why we have Henso, we have Hemi, we have Ibuano, and we have all of you that can help us to save this tiny little creature. If any of you haven't had, or if I may ask, any of you have seen it, or anybody have seen the fireflies, or have not? Anybody have seen the fireflies? Okay, fair enough. Okay, how about who has never seen the fireflies? Anybody have never seen the fireflies? Good. So everybody, everybody clear what I'm talking about, right? So we are talking about tiny little animals that glow at night. It's beautiful and it's diminishing. Yeah. So yes. So this project we will try to not just bring back its creature, but what makes this creature alive. So it needs fresh air, so a certain temperature. They live between 20 to 27 degrees Celsius, and they are very sensitive to the global warming or temperature rising up. Yep. So it's very sensitive to that. And then because the ecosystem that we so far we know there are two type of fireflies. I wish we can discuss about it. We may take 7 days, but I will try to make it short. The fireflies come into 4 different stages. I learned from Nopi. Number 1 is the adult fireflies, which live only for 22 days. If they are lucky enough, they will find their mate so they can reproduce and they can lay eggs. So the eggs takes between 3 to 4 weeks, and then so they can hatch into a larvae. Once they become a larvae, it takes 8 to 19 months to become the adult firefly. So it's a very long cycle as a larvae, but it's the environment that they're requiring are 2. One is the terrestrial, where they live in the dry land, and then the one that lives in the water or in the rice field. So each require different sort of requirement, but they both needs an area where they have a microorganism with high biodiversity and no chemical involved. So that's why now we are trying to create a pesticide-free zone where 2-kilometer radius is free from pesticides. So that's why Henso and Hemi now try to help us how we can provide the farmers so that they provide only organic, natural ingredients. And thankfully, we are working on it so that when Nofi and our team can breed the fireflies, increase the population of the fireflies in the lab control environment, we want to release the fireflies. But once they are released, they have a safe 2-kilometer radius to reproduce in nature, because journals say they can cruising up to 1.2, 1.5 kilometers. So that's what we try to do, and then hopefully with your help, with your support, we can continue to bring back the light. But unfortunately, one of the consequences is to reduce the light, because we have to reduce the artificial light at night so that they can communicate. They're using their light to communicate, and then so that they can repopulate. But that's just one. There are many, many factors that we as a human being can help these fireflies to live, to repopulate, by leaving some dark spaces, by leaving some habitat that is become their environment to live. So that is what I try to do, and this is originally just a personal dream. I have 3 kids my own, and a beautiful wife. And when my kids growing up, I just want to make sure they want to see the fireflies. So that's all about the Bring Back the Light. And thank you so much. Thank you, Ibu Anu, for the invitations. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
So on that note, I will dim down the light a little bit in case if you raise your hand and you actually.
There's a problem with those, so we will not use them. We're going to better to turn it off.
Like currently where our project is.
You will talk more? Yeah. 45 minutes. No, no worries. I'll speak loud.
No, but it's gonna be like for Mike.
Okay.
They don't need it.
Okay. So yeah, we can switch on the light again. Okay, so then next, yeah. Because she told me it doesn't work. Okay. So the next part of the presentation, we have explained to you our inspiration. Like, why do we want to bring back the light? The second part will be back to you, actually. So we're going to take you into our kitchen and explain to you what we're doing, because the last thing we want to take out of this presentation is us standing here telling you our story, and then you take nothing while you're leaving. What we're hoping for is that at least one of you will get out of here and say, actually, I remember my Wayan that lives right next to me, who's the first child of another Balinese, that I actually could help him with something that he is inspiring to do. That's one aspect of it. Or I want to actually also impact Bali in a way, or I want to go back to my home country and do something different, or anything in any form that can actually bring back your light in any way and beam it out to the world around you. So we're going to take you into our kitchen and explain to you our project. And one of the hardest parts, yeah, this is one thing that the fireflies don't like so much is noise.
Not only the fireflies.
Yeah, humans also like, that's why. Yeah, so we're going to take you into how we are also trying to, the details, the nitty-gritty details of our project, but also how do we fund our project? Because one of the hardest parts of any project that is working is actually how do you fund it? Because if you keep on self-funding, it gets a little bit more difficult. Sometimes if you ask, and I've worked in NGOs for more than 12 years, and if you go out to fund a project and you get a big funding, you will get that fund hit at a certain moment, but then later it could dry out. Or sometimes that entrance of a lot of money could actually damage your project than help it, because you would grow the capacity of the project so much while you're not ready skills-wise and you're not ready competencies-wise to actually handle that capacity that is coming in, so on and so forth. So what I've learned throughout the years and what we're learning in our project is actually how do you can build up your capacity bit by bit as you are growing as a project. You can actually build up your own capacity as a project, train yourself, and as you see, we are trying to bring, and you will see Jaime is coming on and Novi is here. Like, we are super proud to be a team that led by a Balinese, and then I'm from Egypt. I've worked in community development. Jaime is an architecture person. Novi and Cindy and Dirham are biologists, come from different backgrounds. Novi is from Jogja, Bali, Peru, Egypt, so on and so forth. So this diversity, I've learned that we actually, if we put our skills together, we can actually build a capacity based on our background that will help us to reach somewhere faster than we expect. And with the light, with following that pure light every single day that's within us, and we're trying to beam out, we actually realize that the project is working. So the first thing that we thought about, Pat Wayan and myself coming from a tourism background, is actually to build an experience, so that you can actually come spend a day instead of, normally a lot of people come to Bali and they think that they will be seeing Bali as like the cultural thing or whatever, and they end up sometimes they end up getting disappointed by the developments or by the progress in certain areas if they are guided to the wrong places. So we said, why don't we give them a day, 2 or 3, where they can actually come and experience real Bali. They come in the beginning and they actually go to authentic Bali and they do the prayers with us. We go into the temple, into Gunung Raung. They hear the story that you just heard about the arrival of the Maharishi Markandeya. Then later on, they go into our village. They see how the normal Balinese live side by side, how the Disa'adat in action works, how does the Subak in action works. But they also have a part where they actually forage their own food, cook it and eat Balinese and authentic Balinese meal. And then in the end, the cherry on top of the experience is to actually see the fireflies at night when they're lighting and see our vision of having these fireflies that you just saw right now everywhere in Bali. So that's basically a simple experience. The people pay a certain amount for it, and this money goes back into the project, and that's how we first fund. This is the first idea that we thought of funding the project. One of the main things that we fund, and we have the boss here of the lab, is our Fireflies lab. So one of the things that we, on daily basis, the people that come to our project come and see is actually our lab and how we are feeding our fireflies, how we are breeding them. Because one of the things that was a mistake when we see projects are happening with the fireflies and what we started with is that we think that the firefly is actually only that insect that glows at night. But by having Novi around and Cindy and Dirham, our science team, we realized that it's actually about the life of the firefly. That actually this firefly only lives for only 2 to 3 weeks. And the rest of its life, about 1.5 years to 1 year, is actually spent in a larval stage or an egg stage. And this is a very intricate creature that needs to eat a lot, needs earthworm, and needs a healthy soil like what Wayan. So then it takes so much to take care of the habitat and take care of the workaround, which takes us to the second part of our project, which is the Firefly Zone, or the Firefly Pesticide-Free Zone, where we are trying to work with about 35 farmers in 2 kilometers radius to actually educate the farmers around us, these 35 farmers, or to work with them and ask them to work with us by leading by example, by showing them our example of actually how we can create a good habitat for the firefly, and then just tell them that this firefly is an indicator. But you cannot go out to the farmers, like what Pakwayan always say, cannot just go out to the farmers and tell them a theory. They're not going to listen to you. And this is something that it's very important if you are working with your neighbors or you're working with the locals here in Bali, is not to think that you're going to enter and do, because sometimes we come from our Western mentality with like, that we're going to teach the people how to do the things. And that's a mistake that we always fall in. In the beginning, they will tell you, yeah, this is a great idea, but actually in action, nothing is going to happen. It's very important to understand, to sit and listen to what they want, what the individual want, what drives them. So Pakwayan and a group of interns about, now it's a year or 6 months ago, we actually went and asked the farmers, why are you using fertilizers today? What are you farming now? Are you farming rice? What is your driver? Is it economic or not? How can we help you to do it better? What will take you to change actually into organic fertilizers? And we provide them ourselves with these organic fertilizers, so on and so forth. It's actually, I always say it's the hardest part of our project. Like we started in the beginning, we thought returning back the fireflies would be the hardest part, and we realized today that working with 35 farmers who've been doing things in a certain way for about 40 years is very difficult to get a message across to them. And you have to always, I don't know how long you've all been in Bali, I assume different times, but you always have to lead by example here. There always has to be a good example that they are following in Bali. And sometimes there is always a bad example, and that's why the balance is super important. As many as there are bad examples, we need that good example that we follow every now and then, and that's why we're trying to build up this capacity so that they think, oh, why are the foreigners coming to this land? Why are they interested in? Are they interested in fireflies, organic farming, so on and so forth? That could build an awareness bit by bit with the farmers. But also, there is a very important thing, which is the farmers' economic conditions. So we can go and share all these big theories and all these inspirations. But if I actually come and tell them today you are growing rice 4 times, or you're growing that many tons of tomatoes per year, but actually what we need you to do is to decrease it and do it organic instead, they're gonna get scared. So we need to demonstrate to them an example of actually an economical revenue or a return on investment if they go into the organic form. And that's why we have some of our products here. These products, about 70% of it goes back to the farmers directly. So we actually encourage the farmers to grow the organic produces. We take it, turn it into a premium product that is sold based on the story that we just told you. And the more we sell out of these products, the more money will come to the farmers. And then the 35 farmers will say, oh, actually, you guys are bringing income. Let's work with you bit and bit more. Because when we show them the good example and we show them an economic return, the change might happen. Now, out of the 35 farmers, we have 4 farmers that are already sold, that are happy that we use their land as part of our land, because we have our own land also that we're already growing, and that's why we're hoping to do it. So if you have, at any moment, if you have a question how to turn into, so we're using, for example, something we call the holy mix, where we use the manure and the urine of the holy cow that is present in Taro to create this biotaro, a natural fertilizer that we actually use in the soil. We are creating our own holy mix by doing compost, and we're distributing it to the farmers bit by bit. Certain ideas that we're trying bit by bit, and we're seeing what is successful, and we're gathering this data to return back to our farmers and ourselves for that light. And there's one big part of our project, and that's the last part of funding our project, and that's what Pak Jaime is helping us to do. So over to you.
Thank you, guys. Well, as you heard, my name is Jaime. I'm from Peru, and I'm an architect. And thanks to Wayan and Pahenso and all the team to open me the opportunity to help them with this project. Just to tell you a little bit of my background as an architect, I come from Peru, and the picture here on top, it's a typical village in the jungle of South America. That's called vernacular architecture. That's like traditional architecture. And what you see down is a traditional village in vernacular architecture in balinese style. Can you spot the similarities? There is a story behind architecture, traditional architecture, that has been there for thousands of years that we are quickly forgetting. And it's interesting to try to establish what similarities or what can we grab from it to inform contemporary architecture, because there's so much wisdom in it. And that brought me to Bali. One of the main things that brought me to Bali, there's a picture of me with my Chipibo sister in the jungle of Peru, was when I was coming to their house, which is the one on the top. She was like, oh, Jaime, I'm so sorry you have to come to our very humble house. I hope next time you come, we have a concrete house so you are not so uncomfortable. And it's like, that's you cannot probably see too much, but that, on top of it, there's a little bit house of how houses in contemporary Peru looks like. And there's a massive difference, because in Bali, there is a very powerful bridge that has been established between traditional architecture and contemporary architecture. Look at the ceiling here. Look at the height. Look at the windows. There's so many details that we inhabit in Bali nowadays, that are informed by traditional architecture, and that's something that we don't see too much in the world. And that's like a wow. So that's just to give you an idea of a little bit of what it's important to this project. And also beyond traditional architecture and bioclimatic design, which is basically things like high roofs so the air circulates, is about how do we engage with nature. Because if we live around nature, we engage more with nature. And many times it happens that architecture ends up being a box that kind of, establish a boundary between us and the rest of it. This is a really interesting image that, I don't know if you know Sumba. Sumba has beautiful traditional vernacular architecture. And the one underneath is done by a very famous Balinese architect, probably one of the most famous Indonesian architects in the world, called Popo Danes. And he did a hotel, which has won many awards. And he uses traditional vernacular architecture. So I did ask him about, what do you think, how can you help vernacular architecture translate? And he said, well, we did a hotel in Sumba, and the local people come and work in this 5-star hotel, and when they see that foreigners are coming and paying like $5,000, $2,000 to stay in one night in a building that looks like their traditional house, they can start seeing the value of it. And that's a very powerful story that, okay, wow. So that's a little bit of how tourism can really start impacting how we preserve architecture, how we preserve culture. And the other picture is actually here from Bali. It's a very, very famous Airbnb, probably one of the most famous in the world, called Hideout. And I went to a chat by the owner, and he said that one of the things that really surprised him was when this guy from Jakarta, very high fly businessman, came and said, "Oh, I'm going to the jungle, stay in the Airbnb," and he stayed there, and his life changed. And he wrote in the book saying something like, "I didn't know staying in nature was so cool and soothing." And he's like a business traveler from Jakarta. So architecture and the way we stay in a building can start playing a very powerful role in how we start seeing nature and how we engage with it. And that's a little bit just to offer you a background of how this would apply to the project that we're talking about. And so this is the architectural component. Thanks to Wayan, I sat down with him. They offered me the opportunity to help them. And Wayan already had the idea. The little building in the right is AI, and it's literally putting what Wayan told me, "Oh, I think it should be like this," because the life of the firefly, which you already have seen, is the cycle is at the top, the egg, the larvae, the pupae, and then finally the firefly should be reproduced in the way humans, when they come to Taro and stay there, see and use the space. Because and that's the second graphic here, I'll show you a little bit, is the 3 stages of when humans come to Bali. This is a little bit of not as a joke, but Henzo was talking about how we have the light inside, but we don't see it. Same with the larvae. When the larvae of the firefly is small, it has light, but they don't know. And we all humans have light inside, but sometimes we just don't know. And the idea is, when you come from a big city, let's imagine you come from London, and you come here, you want certain facilities to work, you want warm, you want no humidity, you want certain degree of access to facilities. And the idea was that the underground earth pod, which is the first type of accommodation that is going to be built here, meets these requirements. And the more you stay here in Bali, the more you see nature, the more you start seeing the light within you, you start elevating yourself, you stay in the ground floor pupae pod, which is on top, and then finally, when you are like a firefly, you stay in the aerial pod. So this is just like a little bit of how the life cycle of the firefly could be translated in the space where people come. But it's important to know that this is not designed for guests. This is designed for the fireflies. And it's like firefly-centric design, or the way the space have it fixed. So it's not to offer people commodity, but to offer a good translation so the fireflies can thrive. And now, just in the bottom, we can see that the underground structure will be just very simple. And then on top is probably going to be not the cherry on top, but it would be like the place where the transition happens between a larvae and the firefly, which is a pupae stage. These were graphics that were shown, and the idea is like, why I'm showing you this is because then if we want this project to be central in Bali, we need to engage local people. We need to engage, and what better to engage local people than young architects. So we had a really amazing privilege of work with Warmadewa University, call them in, go to their students in the 3rd year and said, guys, help us design, because this is for you. And this not only helps the students feel ownership for a project that is in their land, but also it helps students of architecture see the potential of what their job as a designer could mean for what, the tourist industry in Bali. So these are just some images that we collected from the time we went to Warmadewa University to talk about the project. We did a little workshop on design on biomimicry, which is how can you see nature so you can design with nature, with the 4 students which were meant to be here, but unfortunately they're not. And we did trials on site. So the idea would be that these young students will design the top part. And this will obviously bring back the idea that the project is theirs and is engaging with the community. And there's a beautiful quote with him, which Henzo here, that Henzo already helped us knowing. We also forget, we usually forget that we are nature. And we don't realize that we are actually nature. If we see nature separate from us, and when we saw that we are lost our connection to nature, we lost connection to ourselves. And that's basically going back to this project. This project is for people like us, like anyone who come to this project. Is at the beginning that we'll see the fireflies, but at the end what you're going to end up seeing is that that's you, that's nature, we're one. And whatever you come to do in Taro, whenever you come and spend 1 day or 2 days, your life will have changed. Because when you come to Taro, when you come to see the people's reaction when they see the fireflies, believe me, there's a moment where everybody goes quiet. They see the fireflies, and they can start seeing the light inside. People cry, people feel like goosebumps, and it's just a very powerful moment, because that's when people actually start thinking like, oh, wait a minute, this is me, this is us. And that's actually the most important thing that we want to achieve when people come to Taro, and it's part of the experience. So using architecture, using the buildings as a way to engage people and for them to see themselves and see that they're part of nature as well. So that's thanks, guys. Thanks so much for allowing me to help. As you can see, I'm an architect, but the stars will be the students who are going to do the design. And thank you to Warmadewa University for allowing us to engage the students and to make this project real. So thank you.
Thank you, Jaime. Yeah, so just as, thank you, Jaime. Thank you, Pat Wayan. Thank you again to Usada for doing what they do every single day. Like, I mean, I always told Scott, and then now I tell Ibu Anouk that it's an honor to have a place here in Ubud that is every single day meaning to maintain the culture. Scott was meaning to be there at the event, the Indonesia Music Expo every single day, just to show support that we are here, but we are not forgetting that this is not our land. We are here as long as we stay. We could stay 25 years, 1,000 years, but we are guests. And we need to remember that we are guests. And when we leave, the people of the land need to find a place for them to stay in and to live in, because sometimes we forget that. We take so much and we forget to give back. And what we were trying to tell you today is that there's no excuse, right? We could sit and say, oh, but they are not helping us. Sometimes I hear this, oh, but they are not approachable, as if there's always they and us and them. But what I learned throughout the years, and I've been doing this for 10 years already, is that there's no sustainability, which means there's no future for us without taking care of the community. And there is no community, we can say there is a culture and we build our own culture. There is no culture without connection with nature. They come hand in hand, and if we sever one connection from the other, if we have a culture and we think that there's a culture, and you arrive to the culture, like we went to one culture recently, me and Jaime, without mentioning names, and we found the nature around them dying, and we realized that the culture has already died just because nature has died. Likewise, if you go to somewhere and you see a community that is dying and you think that nature will survive, that is not going to happen. So our message to you is that there is hope there. We're hoping to bring back the light. Remember that 50% in the beginning, it's all about this balance. And if we live with this balance, maybe we will find the light and we'll bring it back. Thank you very much for listening to us. And we'll be here for
very much to Wayan and Hanso, Jaime, Nori, and thank you for this wonderful presentation. I loved when Hanso mentioned, the analogy that for a firefly to survive, we need a thriving environment, we need the biodiversity, right? And then I love how this project is coming together from its origin at Wayan's childhood and the fascination which we all have, with fireflies. And then this coming together with a group of people from all over the world, and there's somehow a resonance between this biodiversity thriving and the diversity within, our encounters in the world and the human beings that come together to make such projects happen. So I really appreciate that in a world that starts to be more and more enclosed in kind of a, nationalistic governments and so on and so forth. But what I also wanted to ask, and we'll give also a space for all of you to ask questions to the team here, but if I might begin, if you could tell me a little bit the story with Novi. Because when I visited in Taro 2 weeks ago, that in itself is a fascinating story. As far as I understand, there is no scientist in the whole of Indonesia focusing on the or specifying on the fireflies. As they try to find one to be able to support the project and the science behind it, Novi rose out of her, fresh out of her university and stepping into the land of Pakwayan to become maybe she is already the first scientist specifying on the firefly in the whole of Indonesia at a very young age. So please,
Yeah, thank you.
share with us a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Annie. Good night, everyone. And yeah, my name is Novi, and I'm from Java. Like Henzo said, I'm from Central Java, Magelang, if you know. So yeah, I just graduated in 2022. I study biology in my university in Yogyakarta. And yeah, I study biology, but I also never study about the fireflies. And I have no idea when I joined this project because I just want to have a job that linear with my background. And I love nature, and I really lucky that I have this job that yeah, I think like this is like, oh, I also see like a good vision of this project, and I really happy that I joined. And it's like I really happy because it's linear with my background also. And yeah, I have no idea when I joined, and I just like believe that, oh, it's a good project, and I should happy because this is like my first job after I graduate. And yeah, I joined, and yeah, I happy until now like that. And at first time, I also don't know what happened. I just like decide to move Bali, and then moving to Bali, and then starting with zero knowledge with Blue and also. And I just started like know the fireflies. I also grow with the fireflies, but I also only know the fireflies in a insect in adult stage. But I also don't know like the eggs looks like, the larvae looks like. So I know all of the stage of the fireflies also in this project. So yeah, it's like a very new for me also. And maybe everyone also, if you come to our laboratory, you maybe like it's also your first time see the eggs of the fireflies, the larvae of the fireflies. So everything is first time. But now when we try to like make like it's been like almost 1 year. Oh no, it's more than 1 year, and we knowing all the state of the fireflies. And like my brother said, or not my brother, they older than me, so maybe I can say they are my brother. And yeah, every state of the fireflies have a value, and they're explained like very unique and very I don't know, like every state of fireflies have a meaning. But I'm as a biologist only know that the fireflies in a biology or in a scientific perspective. And I really happy that these three guys and three brothers in here like connected the science and also the spiritual. And yeah, it's make me happy that science is not only stay alone, but also with a spiritual, with a like a science perspective and also spiritual perspective, together make a balance. Like yeah, it's make this project more unique, and I'm really happy to join this project. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Just to let you know, Novi is known as the mother of the firefly.
So may I ask, again, if anyone has a question first, and then I'll come last. You have a question, you can please. I'd like to ask, actually it maybe sounds a little bit silly, the question, because you already talked about the pesticides that these are killing the fireflies. So now there is a big problem with the mosquitoes a lot, so there is a lot of fogging used everywhere in the resorts. So I guess the fogging is also killing the fireflies. Because I was told by some resort that there are many mosquitoes already, why they're not using some fogging or some, why they do not manage it. And they said, oh, we don't like because it's killing the fireflies and we want to keep them alive. So it's true, it's killing the fireflies as well, the fogging. And if yes, do you have any how we can kill the mosquitoes and not kill the fireflies?
Okay, thank you. Sorry, what is your name, Ibu?
Yana.
Ibu Yana, thank you so much. I have the same question. No, but thank you so much. This is like my brother Henso said. I think the keyword is balance. Yes, as much as we want, we need lights in our light, but we also need some dark space for the fireflies, right? Let's start it there. Same with chemical. Yeah. Let's start with the concept of the biodiversity, okay, where we have the water, where we have the soil, so that enough microorganism grows, so that we have the plants, and not only the plants grows, but also bacteria, including so many different insects, including the fireflies. Of course, we want the fireflies, but we don't want the mosquito, right? I think it's fair enough. There are ways, but before we get there, first, we don't think of the fireflies as how beautiful it is. Okay, so number one, number one, that we always focus in ourselves. Yeah, we want convenience, lights, which is fair enough. We are human beings, but what we don't remember is that there is also other insects, other creatures that also needs a certain criteria that can also they can live without compromising our convenience. There are two solutions that I offer. Okay, number one is the what you call it, organic. We call it regenerative farming, where we use natural ingredients. Yes, there is an episode where we need to reduce. We don't necessarily kill, but we reduce the insects that is eating our worm by applying the things they don't like. For example, something bitter, something spicy, something hot. Like so we use ginger, we use tobacco, we use a certain root called umbigadung, which is contain cyanide. You know, if you 1 milligram of cyanide can kill you. So we use this certain amount, so we apply it. But it's made of nature, but when it falls into Mother Earth, it's become a fertilizer. Of course, we fermenting it. So we have ways in the organic, in the agriculture precaution. So that's why what we are using is to increase the quality of the plants, so that when, like we ourselves, if we have a healthy immune system, then we do need medicine, right? So the pest is coming second. But yes, we also control the pests, not just to make our life convenient, but also be mindful to maintain the balance. So what we do, we create an environment where they don't like us. I'm very sorry, I cannot call you the brand, I wish, but I don't think it's proper. So I'm also managing, apart from organic farming, I also do organic pest control, but I don't advertise it for business, because I don't do that for business. But I do that to save the fireflies, because the property where I'm working on also have the same ambition as me to save the fireflies. So we manage the area of the resorts going organically without using any chemical in the farm, in the garden, and also in pest control system. So what we do, we grow live plants like ginger. So we grow lots of plants. One of our hero now is Ligundi, the Phytech trifolia. So we grow this live Phytech trifolia that have a strong perfume, many different type, lemongrass and so on and so on. So that's one. Secondly, we use a spray system, but the spray is, like I said, they contain nicotine actually, and the cyanide and the ginger. So we have we change it every 7 days. Sorry, every day in 7 days. So we don't use the same ingredients every day. So sort of like because they also have this sort of like fighting adjustment system. So when so that's the weakness with the chemical. So that's why they're increasing the amount, right? So we sort of like randomly changing it. So they don't have time, because they have 2 months. 2 weeks. So within these 2 weeks, we are talking about a mosquito, yeah, in specific. So we use different types of ingredient to grow, live, and then to spray, and then to fog. We fog, but we use water-based fogging. We make smoke, but this is using a liquid smoke. So no kerosene, no chemical. The same application. This one just to get rid, because we don't want them in our area. So it doesn't kill them. It doesn't have a potent amount to kill them, but it makes them away. So they are not in our area, in our approximate. Even if they are there, they won't there for a long time. And then we reduce the population. So we have the trap to reduce the population, also same, using natural ingredients. So it's a very natural, all the ingredients 100% naturals, but we apply it with the different applications. And then of course lastly we have the repellent ourselves. So yeah, we have those type we already practice it. So this is my second year, and so far they haven't fired me yet. So it means it's not 100% works, but because we have a big dream to save the fireflies, so we have this step, including the rats, including the gecko. So we don't. So the concept is not killing, get rid, not terminating. We reducing the population from the larval stage for the mosquitoes, and then we create an environment where they don't like, so they still can live, but in a separate area. Fogging, yes, it kills not just the mosquito, including the fireflies. So the same problem Ibu Yana apply in our agriculture system. This is also explaining why less and less fireflies, even though we still see rice field, we still see farm, because I don't know, maybe 40, 30 years, the last 30 or 40 years, our agriculture system has commonly using chemical base, and that is where this unbalance happening in the nature, and then including the fireflies. So we cannot advertise how much we need to stay without a bite of a mosquito, but of course we also need to be cautious, because it is not only dangerous for the mosquito, it is also for the fireflies, and then eventually it's dangerous for us. So we have that, but in a very small, how you say, only one we have the same vision, like, because eventually we're gonna have that bite. Same with the organic, it's slow, it's not quantity, it's quality, it's slow. It's maybe a very, for some people, is when they compare with the chemical, for example, with the organic pest control that we do, of course, it's not like you spray and then after a few hours it's gone. But after 1 week it's coming again, and then you need to increase the volume and so on and so on. So I really hope it's answer my question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Any other questions for Wayan or the team?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
2 questions.
Okay.
Connect.
Okay.
The first one, very simple. Where do the fireflies lay their eggs?
Mm.
And the reason why I asked that is because not only chemicals and pesticides have compromised the ecosystem, but also, especially in Bali, the switching from the 6 months rice cycle to the crappy Chinese one, 3 months, because of course there are these insects that lay their eggs that take the cycle of the rice then to be born.
Yeah.
But then with the 3 months they kill the insects in the larva stage. So yeah.
Where do they? Yes, okay. So we don't get into a species at the moment, but what we know, there are 2 types of the fireflies that we are rearing. One is the terrestrial, the one that lives in the dry land, and the one that is semi-aquatic, where they are mostly in the rice field. So on the second one, of course, they mostly on the rice field. They like to lay their eggs on the stem of the rice, or in the grass of the rice, or at the plants that is lies on the rice field. So that's when they lay their eggs, and then after 2-3 weeks they will fall down into the rice field and then become the larvae. So that's where it takes a long time. So that is where the chemical become their next. Not to mention, even before they hatch into larvae, there are also other predators.
So the fact that the rice is the traditional 6-month cycle or the short 3-month cycle, it doesn't affect.
Doesn't affect because they always can go move on the side. They can live even under the inside the mud. But what does kill them is that the tractor, because traditionally we use slow moving process. So they say, but what we see now with the 3,000 rotation per minute, so it doesn't give them a chance. So it's reducing a lot. And then not to mention now the herbicide is commonly used by the farmers, so they don't want to weeds, so you just spray the herbicide, so it's killed them almost instantly. That's what we see. In the terrestrial one, it's a bit easier. What we see is that the staggering, the level of the trees is very important because the male, they tend to fly higher. So that's why they have 2 light organs and the female has only 1 light organ. So automatically the female have a dimmer light than it is the female. So the female have a brighter light. So and they tend to fly higher. So this is where they need to communicate with the females, and the amount of trees is not only the big tree, and there is not only a short tree. So by having I don't know what it's called, like the different levels of the tree. So there is a tree, there is a canopy, there is a grass cover, a ground cover. So that's the perfect environment. So it's not just, so that's why monoculture doesn't really help the fireflies. I hope it answers the question. Thank you. Yes, please, Ibu. Yes, Ibu, human. Yes, fireflies. Before the eggs of the fireflies, what we see, they have the most delicious part is the eggs. So they lay their eggs in flocks. If it is in the water, as we know, the biodiversity also. We have the frogs. Yeah, we also have lizard. If we have gecko around, the gecko love to eat the fireflies because we also have like a little nursery where they live. I mean, there are a lot that live with the fireflies. So this is where the lights come into help, because in the biology language, anything glow poisons. So sometimes, the two purpose of their light is actually to communicate and to warn the predators. But sometimes we have a stubborn predators we just eat. So, but yes, there are many predators. The bigger insect and even the bigger insect also they're predators. And surprisingly, this is also beyond our knowledge that the fireflies also become cannibal. So before we place the hatching larvae in one communal terrarium where we place them together, but because they are facing 7 to 9 times of molting, losing the skin, so there is the time where they are eaten by their friends. So as you can see, a firefly is facing so much pressure, not just from the predators, but also their kinds. And mostly our kind is taking their space. Thank you. Do you have any other question? Yes, please.
You just mentioned molting. They molt 9 times?
Yes, 7 to 9. Yes. Yes, you see, this is where the transformation happens. So I'm really glad that Novi see it in not just from the biology scientific way, but she also see it in from the spiritual way. Just by the way, Novi, I know it's her first job. She's not doing it because of a job, but she's really helping me a lot because she's doing it with her heart. So that's why Ibu Anu can see the difference with full of passions and Henso and I'm just so glad that hopefully she will become the expert, the researchers of fireflies, because this is also our challenge. We don't have a specific expert in fireflies in Indonesia. We work very closely with Udayana University, which is my mentors, the professor, but speak about the fireflies is still very not that much. So that is our next future dream. We will also want to contribute for the science. So with Nopi's help, In the lab, we also want to contribute. One, we have enough precise scientific empiric fulfilling this. We also want to contribute how we can rear the fireflies, how we can make their population thrive, and so on and so on. Yeah. Yes, they molt, Ibu. They sometimes they eat their skin. Sometimes they decay. So this is like their next nutrition also. Yeah, but this is how they grow. And every time they're removing their skin, so they grow. And Novi is looking very closely, every inch, every millimeter. So from 0.5 millimeters can up to 2 centimeters growth. So yeah, and we're still looking for any other ways how we can feed them. I think we need to look in more in the menu, because so far we know only two, the earthworm and the snails. But we know there are a lot of microorganisms that lives in the soil. I don't know if you have spaghetti. We should try the spaghetti and. Yeah. Yes, but they eat their friends. If they don't have, they eat their friends. So we separate them in a separate terrarium now, but we feed them. Yeah. Okay. Sorry again? From 0.5 until 2, yeah? 2 centimeters. Very tiny, very tiny. Yes.
That's the larva, right? No, you're asking about the larva, not the firefly
The
itself.
fireflies around 2.5.
So
One
that's
and a
the
half,
fly.
yeah.
That's
Or
the
even
fly.
1.5, yeah.
Because most of its life is spent in the larval stage and the worm stage. That's why. That's what actually Novi's spending most of her time feeding them. And
So we feed them individually. Oh, yes, please, Ibu. Sorry.
I was just wondering, like, what kind of effect will it have if you bring back the population on the ecosystem?
Okay, first we see the good impact. Yeah, fireflies are known as a bioindicator of a clean air, non-contaminated water, and healthy soil. Good news is fireflies is actually a night pollinator, Ibu. So if we have the bees, the butterflies, dragonflies, the bird pollinating during the day, we have fireflies at night. So because once they are adult, they don't eat anymore. They only drink. They mostly like the dew points that stay on the spike of the rice field. And then they like to get the nectar from the flower. So the more fireflies, in fact, they will bring more fruits because it helps pollinate. And number 3, because they need a lot of food, especially on the larval stage, they live in the soil, they live in the water, they also eat the snails. So they are also, it's fair enough to say it's a bioindicator, a biopest control, because they also like to eat the eggs of the snail. So if we have a balanced environment, they have enough food, so they don't have to eat their friends. And we know to grow snail, you need to have a healthy soil, otherwise full of chemical. So I mean, it's all connected. After all, it's all connected and it's all linked.
it's a magical creature. I mean,
Yes.
like we bring in so many people to see it, and just the moment they see it, they just go, I've had it like many times. Every single time they go, there is that impact, and that's enough at its own.
So I think, it's a good impact. So not to worry. So they will not try to introduce and take your house. No, they will just say, yes, sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. Do you know about the Sulawesi firefly?
Not yet. All I know is Kalimantan. I've been to Kalimantan and I just...
Because in Sulawesi there is a firefly phenomena that is unique and has never been explained by biology or by science. Nobody knows how it works. Because there is this batch of fireflies, and when they light up, they all light up at the same time. So in the beginning somebody said, maybe one goes first, and then like half a millisecond later the other one sees and lights up as well. But then they slow them down, in slow motion. They say, no, all at the same time, poof, and down, and up, boom. Yeah, it's one of the mysteries of...
Where in Sulawesi?
I don't know exactly where. I should ask Dr. Blair.
Yeah. There are more than 2,000 species of fireflies, and in fact, in some part of the world, like in the United States and India, I think they have already learned specifically the lights of the fireflies with a specific species. They have a specific tempo, wavelength, intensity, tone, color, and so on and so on. So they try to translate it into language, and this is for a specific fireflies. And there is a specific fireflies called Taurus. So these female fireflies can mimic the other species of female fireflies. So when that specific adult male fireflies approach, they attack the male fireflies to get the luciferase. By the way, Novi can explain how the fireflies glows, but the certain part that makes the fireflies glows is actually a luciferase. And if they don't have enough time to live and to find their mate, so they need more energy. So they need this luciferase from another species of the fireflies. So that's also, I mean, there are so many interesting facts about the fireflies.
Fascinating creature.
Fascinating, very, very fascinating. Yes, Ibu?
Yeah, can you say something more about the effect of artificial light? Because I don't think anybody's seen fireflies in the city.
Oh, yes, I love this. Thank you for asking, because actually we created also a social research, Ibu. So we asked people, I live in Ubud in Peliatan for 11 years. So I remember taking guests from Puri to Sakti, and all this Andong area were full of fireflies. I remember that. But this is what we see, the decreasing of the fireflies, because if we ask people in Ubud, Kuta, Nusa Dua, Canggu, you name it, so these public spaces, a famous spot for tourism. If you ask them where were the last time did you see the fireflies, most likely they will see 40 years ago. 45 years ago. The earliest maybe 35 years ago. In Ubud, 24 years ago, because I did the research in 2000. And so on and so on. So if we look back what happened 40 years ago, that is where maybe the development not as fast as today. Yeah. So we are actually taking their habitat. So the habitat loss. Yeah. The landscaping change from the agriculture area, from the natural reserve into resort, housing, building, storage, everything. Yeah. So they don't only take the habitat for building, it comes with light. Yeah. So the building here not just spread the light in the building, but certain meters away from the building. Putting them all together, it creates extra lights. So imagine we are sitting here, and then Ibu Anu play a sound, big sound, and then we try to communicate. It's almost impossible. Same with the fireflies, because they're using their flash of light to communicate, and artificial light at night is everywhere. So that's why they're reducing, right? So the city, definitely we hard to see the fireflies. And then, so what is left is the agriculture area, even natural reserve. If you visit Ayung River, you see how many resort is there. So they like the dark environments where the water there, lots of trees, and we have lights already. I mean, it's fair enough. So I mean, that's also why it's reducing. So with the help of HEMI, hopefully, we can sort of like, we still can build a resort building and so on and so on, but we are very mindful how much lights we can use, how we can think of the other creatures and so on and so on. And hopefully the word of balance that we are looking, that we can maintain. Bali will be known for tourism for a long time. We will attract tourism. We're not going to stop people coming. And we, in fact, thank you for coming. But we, or me personally as a Balinese, I also need to think of how this to be sustained for a long time, and how our young children can see the fireflies. Because I'm 46 years old, I'm still fascinated to see the fireflies. And for the younger generation, also need the fireflies. So the last left is the agricultural area, Ibu. And the only place that have this dark environment is left is this agriculture area, and still it's already contaminated with chemical. So there is, I think, the ingredients that makes the firefly decreasing every year. Not to mention something we cannot control, the climate change, the global warming is something that we cannot control, and yeah. So in the city it's a bit hard. So that's why we create this Bring Back the Light project. If we have sort of like methodology, how we increase the fireflies at the same time, saving a safe home for the fireflies to live, and maybe we can implement in the city or in Ubud. But it has a certain precondition that we must do. You know, like, okay, lights off at 10 o'clock and that's it. You know, like, why not? Yeah, could be, right?